Hello, English learners. Welcome back to Voice of English. My name is Lisa, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. This is your daily space to practice, learn, and speak English with me. In today's session, we're going to focus on a very common challenge that many English learners face: understanding English, but struggling to speak it. You and I will be working together for the next 2 hours to help you overcome this speaking barrier. It's going to be a calm, supportive, and very practical session, just like having a patient friend help you practice. You don't need to worry about being perfect, making mistakes, or sounding awkward. The only important thing is that you try, listen, and gradually build your speaking confidence. So, take a deep breath. Get yourself a cup of tea, coffee, or a glass of water, and find a comfortable place to sit. You can even lie down if you like. Remember, this is your safe space, your time to practice English speaking without any judgment or pressure. I'm going to be speaking clearly and slowly, so you can understand every word. I'll give you plenty of time to repeat after me, and I'll encourage you to speak out loud even when it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes I will ask you simple questions, and I want you to answer out loud. Don't worry if you're alone. Talking to yourself in English is actually one of the most effective ways to build speaking confidence. Are you ready? Let's get started. Let's begin by acknowledging something important. If you understand English but can't speak it, you're already halfway there. Your brain knows the language. It just needs practice getting your mouth to work with it. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. You might understand how it works, but your body needs practice to actually do it. First, let's do some very simple speaking exercises. I want you to repeat after me, word by word. Don't worry about accent or speed. Just focus on making the sounds. Ready? Hello? My name is... Now you say your name. Good. I am learning English. I understand English, but speaking is hard for me. That's okay. I will practice every day. Now let's try the same sentences all together. Hello, my name is your name. I am learning English. I understand English, but speaking is hard for me. That's okay. I will practice every day. Say it out loud now. Don't worry if it sounds strange. That's completely normal. The first thing you need to know is why you can understand English but struggle to speak it. When you read or listen to English, you're using your passive vocabulary, words you recognize and understand. But when you speak, you need to use your active vocabulary, words you can actually produce and use in conversation. Your passive vocabulary is much larger than your active vocabulary, and that's perfectly normal. Today, we're going to work on moving words from your passive vocabulary to your active vocabulary. Let's start with something very basic. I'm going to say simple statements about myself, and then I want you to make similar statements about yourself. Ready? I am a teacher. Now you say, I am a your job or what you do. I like reading books. You say, I like something you enjoy. I live in a house. You say, I live in a house, apartment, other. I have brown hair. You say, I have your hair color hair. I am wearing a blue shirt today. You say, I am wearing, describe what you're wearing. How did that feel? If it felt difficult or strange, that's completely normal. Your mouth and tongue are not used to making these English sounds in this sequence. It's like learning a new physical skill. Let's keep practicing. Now, let's work on one of the biggest challenges, responding to questions. Many English learners understand questions perfectly but freeze when they need to answer. Let's practice with very simple questions. I'll ask a question, give you a moment to think, and then you answer out loud. Remember, short answers are perfectly fine. What's your name? Pause, say it out loud now. How old are you? Pause, don't just say the number. Where are you from? Pause. Say your country or city. What's your favorite color? Pause. Just name one color. Do you like pizza? Pause. Just say yes or no, or I like pizza, or I don't like pizza. Great job. See how much easier it gets when you just focus on simple, direct answers. You don't need to create perfect sentences. Communication is about sharing information, not about being grammatically perfect. Let's talk about why speaking feels so much harder than understanding. When you listen to English, you have time to process what you hear. Your brain can take a moment to translate and understand. But when you speak, you feel pressure to respond quickly, and that pressure makes you nervous. Today, we're going to remove that pressure and give you lots of time to think and speak. Here's an important truth. Every person who speaks English as a second language has felt exactly like you do right now. Even people who speak English fluently today once stood where you're standing, feeling nervous and uncertain about speaking. The only difference between them and you is practice time. So let's get practicing. Let's work on describing things around you. This is a great way to practice because you don't need to think of complicated ideas. You just describe what you see. Look around your room right now. I want you to name 5 things you can see. Just simple words. For example, you might say, I see a table. I see a chair. I see a book. I see a window. I see a cup. Now it's your turn. Look around and say 5 things you can see. Perfect. Now let's make it slightly more interesting. Instead of just naming things, let's add one describing word. For example, I see a brown table. I see a comfortable chair. I see a thick book. I see a big window. I see a white cup. Now you try. Look around and describe 5 things with one describing word each. How are you feeling? Are you starting to feel a little more comfortable making sounds in English? That's the goal. We want speaking English to feel less scary and more natural. Now let's work on talking about your daily routine. This is perfect practice because you do these things every day, so you know exactly what to say. The vocabulary is simple and useful. I'll start by telling you about my morning routine, speaking slowly, and then you can tell me about yours. I wake up at 7 o'clock. I brush my teeth. I wash my face. I eat breakfast. I drink coffee. I get dressed. I leave my house. Now it's your turn. Tell me about your morning routine. Use simple sentences just like mine. Start with I wake up at and continue. Say each sentence out loud. Take your time. There's no rush. Excellent. Now let's practice talking about things you like and don't like. This is great conversation practice because people love talking about their preferences. I'll give you some examples, then you can practice. I like coffee, but I don't like tea. I like sunny weather, but I don't like rain. I like reading books, but I don't like watching TV. I like cats, but I don't like dogs. Notice how I used simple sentence structures. I like something, but I don't like something else. Now you try. Think of things you like and don't like and make sentences just like mine. Say at least 4 sentences out loud. Here's something very important. When you're learning to speak, simple is better than complicated. Many English learners think they need to use complex sentences and advanced vocabulary to sound good. That's not true. Native English speakers use simple sentences most of the time in daily conversation. Focus on being clear, not on being fancy. Let's practice asking questions. Many English learners can answer questions but feel nervous about asking them. Asking questions is just as important as answering them. So let's practice. I'll teach you some basic question patterns and you can repeat them. What is your name? Where do you live? How old are you? What do you do? What time is it? Where is the bathroom? How much does this cost? Can you help me? Now repeat each question after me, speaking clearly. Repeat each question with pauses. Great. Now let's practice using these questions. Imagine you're meeting someone new. What questions might you ask them? Pick 3 questions from the list and say them out loud as if you're talking to a new friend. Let's work on something very practical. Expressing how you feel. This is useful in everyday conversation and quite easy to practice. Here are some simple ways to talk about feelings. I am happy. I am sad. I am tired. I am hungry. I am excited. I am nervous. I am confused. I am proud. Say each one after me. Repeat each feeling. Now, let's make it more personal. How are you feeling right now about practicing English? You could say, I am nervous about speaking English, or I am excited to practice English, or I am tired, but I want to learn. Tell me how you feel right now. Say it out loud. Here's a wonderful thing about speaking practice. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Your mouth gets used to making English sounds. Your brain gets faster at finding the right words. Your confidence grows. It's like building muscle strength. A little bit every day makes a big difference over time. Let's practice describing your family. This is another great topic because it's personal but not too complicated. I'll describe my family first, then you can describe yours. I have a small family. I have a mother and a father. I have one brother. My brother is younger than me. My mother is a teacher. My father works in an office. We live together in a house. Now you try. Use simple sentences like mine. Start with I have, and tell me about your family. How many people are in your family? What do they do? Say it out loud, taking your time with each sentence. Let's work on talking about food. Everyone eats, so everyone can practice this topic. Food vocabulary is also very practical for daily life. I'll tell you about some foods I like, then you can do the same. I like rice. I eat rice every day. I also like bread and butter. For breakfast, I usually eat eggs. I drink milk with my breakfast. My favorite fruit is apples. I don't like very spicy food. Now it's your turn. What foods do you like? What do you usually eat for breakfast? What's your favorite fruit? Use simple sentences and speak clearly. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to communicate. Here's an important tip. When you're practicing speaking, don't translate from your native language to English in your head. Try to think directly in English, even if your thoughts are simple. Instead of thinking a complex thought in your language and then trying to translate it, think simple thoughts directly in English. For example, instead of translating, I have a strong desire to improve my English speaking abilities, just think, I want to speak English better. Simple thoughts, simple sentences, clear communication. Let's practice talking about your hobbies and free time activities. This is excellent conversation practice because it's about you and things you enjoy. In my free time, I like to read books. I also like to listen to music. Sometimes I watch movies. On weekends, I go for walks in the park. I enjoy cooking new recipes. Now tell me about your hobbies and free time activities. What do you like to do when you're not working or studying? Use simple sentences starting with I like to, or I enjoy, or sometimes I. Say at least 3 sentences about your hobbies. Let's work on making plans and talking about the future. This is very useful for daily conversation. I'll show you some simple ways to talk about future plans. Tomorrow, I will go to work. This weekend, I plan to visit my friends. Next week, I want to go shopping. Next month, I hope to travel to another city. Notice the simple patterns. Tomorrow, I will. This weekend, I plan to. Next week, I want to. Next month, I hope to. Now you try. What are your plans? What do you want to do tomorrow, this weekend, or next week? Use the same simple patterns and speak out loud. Here's something that might surprise you. Making mistakes while speaking is actually good for learning. When you make a mistake and then correct yourself, your brain remembers the correction better than if you had said it correctly the first time. So don't be afraid of mistakes. They're part of the learning process. Let's practice talking about the weather. This is perfect small talk, and every English speaker talks about weather sometimes. Weather vocabulary is simple and very useful. Today is sunny. The sky is blue. It's warm outside. I like this weather. Yesterday it was cloudy. Tomorrow it might rain. I don't like cold weather. I love sunny days. Now look outside your window or think about today's weather. Describe the weather using simple sentences like mine. Is it sunny, cloudy, rainy, or cold? Do you like this kind of weather? Say your sentences out loud. Let's work on expressing opinions. Having opinions and sharing them is a big part of conversation. Here are some simple ways to express what you think. I think English is interesting. I believe practice is important. In my opinion, speaking is harder than listening. I feel that movies help me learn English. I agree that practice makes perfect. Notice the phrases. I think, I believe, in my opinion, I feel that, I agree that. These phrases help you share your thoughts politely. Now practice giving your opinions. What do you think about learning English? What do you believe about the best way to practice? Use the phrases I just taught you and say your opinions out loud. Let's practice some very common conversation starters. These are phrases you can use to begin conversations with people. How are you today? What's new with you? How was your weekend? What are you doing today? How's the weather? What do you think about this? Repeat each phrase after me, and then practice using them. Imagine you're meeting a friend. Which conversation starter would you use? Say it out loud as if you're really talking to someone. Now let's work on responding to these conversation starters. If someone asks, "How are you today?" you might say, "I'm fine, thank you," or "I'm good, how about you?" If someone asks, "How was your weekend?" you might say, "It was nice, I relaxed at home," or "It was fun, I went to the park." Practice responding to these conversation starters. I'll ask you a question, and you respond out loud. How are you today? Pause for your response. What did you do yesterday? Pause for your response. Do you like living in your city? Pause for your response. What's your favorite season? Pause for your response. Great job. Remember, in real conversations, you don't need perfect grammar or complicated vocabulary. People just want to understand what you're trying to communicate. Let's practice talking about transportation and getting around. This is very practical vocabulary that you might need to use. I go to work by bus. Sometimes I walk to the store. I have never traveled by plane. I like riding bicycles. The train is fast and comfortable. Driving a car is expensive. I prefer public transportation. Now tell me about how you travel. How do you go to work or school? Have you ever traveled by plane or train? Do you like walking? Use simple sentences and speak clearly. Let's work on asking for help and directions. This is extremely practical for daily life, especially if you travel or live in an English-speaking area. Excuse me, can you help me? Where is the train station? How do I get to the hospital? Can you tell me the way to the supermarket? Is there a bank near here? Thank you for your help. Practice saying these phrases clearly. Imagine you're in a new city and you need directions. Which phrase would you use? Say it out loud as if you're really asking someone for help. Now let's practice giving simple directions. If someone asks you for directions, you might say, go straight. Turn left, turn right. It's next to the bank. It's across from the park. It's behind the school. It's about 5 minutes walking. Practice saying these direction phrases. Imagine someone asked you where the nearest store is. How would you tell them? Use the phrases we just practiced. Here's an important point about building speaking confidence. Start with topics you know well. If you love cooking, practice talking about cooking in English. If you enjoy sports, practice talking about sports. When you talk about familiar topics, you feel more confident because you know the subject well. This confidence helps you focus on the English instead of worrying about what to say. Let's practice talking about technology. Since most people use phones, computers, or the internet daily, I have a smartphone. I use it to call my friends. I also send text messages. I use the internet every day. I like watching videos online. Social media is popular. I prefer email to phone calls. Now tell me about how you use technology. Do you have a smartphone? Do you use the internet? What do you like to do online? Keep your sentences simple and clear. Let's work on talking about health and how you feel physically. This is important vocabulary for daily life. I feel good today. I am healthy. Sometimes I have headaches. I sleep 8 hours every night. I try to eat healthy food. Exercise is important. I drink a lot of water. When I'm sick, I rest at home. Now practice talking about your health and physical feelings. How do you feel today? Do you sleep well? What do you do to stay healthy? Use simple sentences to describe your health habits. Let's practice talking about shopping, since everyone needs to buy things sometimes. I go shopping on weekends. I buy food at the supermarket. I like to compare prices. Sometimes I shop online. I need to buy new clothes. Shopping for gifts is fun. I prefer small stores to big malls. Now tell me about your shopping habits. Where do you like to shop? What do you usually buy? Do you prefer shopping in stores or online? Practice speaking about your shopping experiences. Here's something very encouraging. Every time you speak English, Even just for a few minutes, you're building neural pathways in your brain. These pathways make it easier to speak English the next time. So every moment you spend practicing speaking is making you a better English speaker, even if you don't feel the improvement immediately. Let's practice expressing gratitude and politeness. These phrases are essential for good communication in English. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help. You're very kind. I'm sorry for the trouble. Excuse me, please. May I ask you something? Would you mind helping me? That's very nice of you. Practice saying these polite phrases. Being polite in English will help you have better conversations and make people more willing to help you practice. Now let's work on talking about learning and education. Since you're a student of English, I am learning English. It's challenging but interesting. I study a little bit every day. Practice is very important. I want to improve my speaking. Reading helps me learn new words. I listen to English music and videos. My goal is to speak fluently. Now talk about your English learning experience. How long have you been learning English? What's the most difficult part for you? What helps you learn? Share your experience using simple, clear sentences. Let's practice talking about work and careers. This is common small talk and useful for networking or meeting new people. I work in an office. My job is interesting. I start work at 9 o'clock. I have lunch at noon. I work with nice people. My boss is very helpful. I want to improve my career. Work can be stressful sometimes. Now tell me about your work or studies. What do you do? Do you enjoy it? What time do you start? Keep your sentences simple and focus on communicating clearly. Let's work on making suggestions and giving advice. This is useful for helping friends or participating in conversations. You should practice every day. I suggest watching English movies. Maybe you could join a conversation group. Why don't you try reading simple books? It might help to speak with native speakers. I recommend using language learning apps. Notice the phrases for making suggestions. You should. I suggest. Maybe you could. Why don't you? It might help to. I recommend. Now practice making suggestions about learning English. What advice would you give to someone who wants to improve their English? Use the suggestion phrases we just learned. Here's a very important point. Don't aim for perfection, aim for communication. Native English speakers don't expect you to speak perfectly. They want to understand what you're trying to say. If you can communicate your meaning, even with some mistakes, that's successful communication. Perfect grammar can come later. Communication comes first. Let's practice talking about goals and dreams. This is interesting conversation and good practice for using future tenses. I want to speak English fluently. My dream is to travel to English-speaking countries. I hope to get a better job. I plan to take an English exam. In the future, I want to study abroad. My goal is to feel confident speaking English. Now share your goals and dreams. What do you want to achieve with your English? What are your plans for the future? Use phrases like, I want to. My dream is. I hope to. I plan to. In the future, I want to. My goal is. Let's work on describing past experiences. This helps you practice past tense and share stories. Yesterday, I studied English for 2 hours. Last week, I watched an English movie. Last month, I started this English course. When I was younger, I was afraid to speak English. A few years ago, I decided to improve my English. In the past, speaking English was very difficult for me. Now practice talking about your past experiences with English. When did you start learning English? What was difficult for you in the past? How has your English improved? Use simple past tense and focus on clear communication. Let's practice talking about likes, dislikes, and preferences. This is great conversation material and helps you express your personality. I prefer tea to coffee. I like summer more than winter. I enjoy reading books rather than watching TV. I love quiet places. I don't like crowded areas. I prefer walking to driving. I enjoy cooking at home. Use these patterns to talk about your preferences. I prefer X to Y. I like X more than Y. I enjoy X rather than Y. I love. I don't like. I prefer. I enjoy. Now practice expressing your preferences. What do you prefer, coffee or tea? Do you like hot weather or cold weather? Would you rather read or watch TV? Share your preferences using the patterns we practiced. Let's work on talking about problems and solutions. This is practical for daily life and good conversation practice. I have a problem with my computer. Maybe I should call a technician. My English speaking is weak. I think I should practice more. The weather is too hot. I could use an air conditioner. I'm always tired in the morning. Perhaps I should sleep earlier. Notice how we state a problem and then suggest a solution using maybe I should, I think I should, I could, perhaps, I should. Now practice talking about a small problem you have and suggest a solution. For example, if you're always late, you could say, I'm always late for appointments. Maybe I should set my alarm earlier. What problems do you have and what solutions can you suggest? Here's something wonderful about language learning. Every time you push yourself to speak, even when it's uncomfortable, you're growing stronger as an English speaker. The discomfort you feel is actually a sign that you're learning and improving. Embrace that feeling. It means you're making progress. Let's practice talking about plans and schedules. This is very practical for organizing your life and making appointments. Tomorrow morning, I have a meeting at 10 o'clock. In the afternoon, I plan to go shopping. This evening, I want to study English. This weekend, I hope to visit my friends. Next week, I need to go to the doctor. Next month, I plan to take a vacation. Practice talking about your plans and schedule. What do you plan to do tomorrow? What about this weekend? What are your plans for next week? Use time expressions like tomorrow morning, this afternoon, this evening, this weekend, next week, next month. Let's work on making comparisons. This is useful for expressing opinions and making choices. English is easier than Chinese. Speaking is harder than reading. Coffee is more expensive than tea. My house is smaller than yours. Today is warmer than yesterday. This book is more interesting than that one. Notice the patterns. X is easier than Y. X is harder than Y. X is more expensive than Y. X is smaller than Y. X is warmer than Y. X is more interesting than Y. Now practice making comparisons. Compare two languages you know. Compare your hometown to another city. Compare this year to last year. Use the comparison patterns we just learned. Let's practice apologizing and making excuses. These are important social skills in English. I'm sorry I'm late. I apologize for the mistake. I'm sorry, but I can't come to the party. I have to work late. I'm afraid I don't understand. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry to bother you. I apologize for the confusion. Practice these apology phrases. Imagine different situations where you might need to apologize or make excuses. How would you apologize for being late? How would you politely say you don't understand something? Now let's work on expressing agreement and disagreement politely. I agree with you. I think you're right. That's a good point. I understand what you mean. I'm not sure I agree. I see it differently. I have a different opinion. I respectfully disagree. Practice using these phrases. Imagine someone says, I think learning English is easy. How would you agree or disagree politely? Remember, you can have different opinions and still be respectful. Let's practice talking about experiences using have you ever questions. This is common in conversation and good practice for present perfect tense. Have you ever been to another country? Have you ever eaten sushi? Have you ever ridden a horse? Have you ever flown in an airplane? Have you ever met a famous person? Have you ever broken a bone? You can answer, yes, I have, or no, I haven't, or yes, I have been to Japan, or no, I have never eaten sushi. Now practice asking and answering have you ever questions. Think of some experiences and ask yourself these questions. Answer out loud, giving short, simple responses. Here's an important reminder. The goal of speaking practice is not to sound like a native speaker immediately. The goal is to communicate clearly and feel more confident each time you speak. Every English conversation you have, even if it's just talking to yourself, makes you a better English speaker. Let's practice giving compliments and responding to them. This is important for building good relationships. Your English is very good. I like your shirt. You did a great job. That's a beautiful picture. You're very kind. Thank you for your help. To respond to compliments, you can say, thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it. That's very kind of you. Thank you for saying that. Practice giving and receiving compliments. How would you compliment someone on their cooking? Their clothes? Their work? How would you respond if someone complimented your English? Let's work on talking about abilities using can and can't. I can speak 2 languages. I can cook simple meals. I can use a computer. I can drive a car. I can't play the piano. I can't swim very well. I can't speak French. I can't fix computers. Now talk about your abilities. What can you do well? What can't you do? Use I can and I can't to describe your skills and abilities. This is good practice and helps people get to know you better. Let's practice making invitations and responding to them. Would you like to have coffee with me? Do you want to go to the movies? Are you free this weekend? Would you like to join us for dinner? How about meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock? To accept. Yes, I'd love to. That sounds great. I'd like that. Yes. I'm free. To decline. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm busy that day. Maybe another time. I'd like to, but I have other plans. Practice making and responding to invitations. How would you invite someone for lunch? How would you politely decline an invitation you can't accept? Now let's talk about something very important for English learners: building confidence. Many students understand English well but lack confidence to speak. Here are some truths that might help you. Every English speaker, including native speakers, makes mistakes sometimes. Mistakes are normal and human. Most people are patient and helpful when you're learning. They admire your effort to speak their language. Your accent is not a problem, it's part of who you are. Communication is more important than perfection. Remember these truths when you feel nervous about speaking English. You're doing something brave and admirable by learning a new language. Let's practice expressing uncertainty and asking for clarification. This is very useful when you don't understand something completely. I'm not sure I understand. Could you repeat that, please? Could you speak a little slower? What does that word mean? I think I understand, but I'm not certain. Could you explain that again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Practice using these phrases. Don't be afraid to ask for clarification when you don't understand something. It's much better to ask than to pretend you understand. Let's work on talking about routines and habits using frequency adverbs. I always brush my teeth before bed. I usually eat breakfast at 7 o'clock. I often listen to music while cooking. I sometimes watch TV in the evening. I rarely eat fast food. I never smoke cigarettes. The frequency words are always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, never. Practice using these words to talk about your habits and routines. How often do you exercise? How often do you eat out? How often do you call your family? Let's practice talking about quantities and amounts. I need a lot of practice. I have a little free time today. There are many students in my class. I eat a few cookies with my tea. There isn't much traffic today. I don't have many friends here. I need some help with this. Could I have some water, please? Practice using quantity words. A lot of, a little, many, a few, much, some. Talk about things in your life using these quantity expressions. How much time do you spend studying English? How many books do you read per month? Here's an encouraging thought. Every English conversation you have is a success, regardless of how well you think you performed. The fact that you communicated in a second language is an achievement. Be proud of every attempt you make to speak English. Let's practice talking about cause and effect using because. I study English because I want to travel. I'm tired because I worked late last night. I'm happy because it's Friday. I carry an umbrella because it might rain. I eat healthy food because I want to stay fit. I practice speaking because I want to improve. Practice explaining reasons for your actions and feelings. Why do you study English? Why did you choose your job? Why do you like your favorite food? Use because to connect your statements with reasons. Let's work on making requests politely. Could you help me, please? Would you mind opening the window? Can you tell me the time? Could I borrow your pen? Would it be possible to reschedule our meeting? May I ask you a question? Practice making polite requests. How would you ask someone to speak more slowly? How would you ask to borrow something? How would you ask for directions? Being polite in your requests will make people more willing to help you. Let's practice expressing necessity and obligation using have to, must, and need to. I have to go to work tomorrow. I must finish this project today. I need to buy groceries this afternoon. You have to practice speaking every day. We must be quiet in the library. Students need to study for the exam. Practice talking about things you have to do, must do, or need to do. What do you have to do tomorrow? What must you remember to do this week? What do you need to do to improve your English? Let's work on talking about possibilities using might, may and could. It might rain tomorrow. I may go to the movies tonight. This could be a good opportunity. She might be busy right now. We may need more time. You could try a different approach. Practice talking about possibilities and uncertain plans. What might you do this weekend? What may happen if you practice English every day? What could help you speak more confidently? Now let's practice a very important skill, describing problems and asking for help. I'm having trouble with my computer. Could someone help me? I don't know how to use this machine. Can you show me? I'm lost. Could you give me directions? I can't find my keys. Have you seen them? This is too difficult for me. Could you explain it simply? Practice describing problems and asking for help. Don't be shy about asking for assistance. People generally like to help others, especially when they're polite about it. Let's work on expressing emotions and reactions. I'm excited about my vacation. I'm worried about the exam. I'm surprised by the news. I'm disappointed with the results. I'm proud of my progress. I'm frustrated with this problem. I'm curious about other cultures. I'm grateful for your help. Practice expressing different emotions. How do you feel about learning English? What makes you excited? What worries you? What are you proud of? Expressing emotions helps you connect with others in conversation. Here's something wonderful about speaking practice. The more you speak, the more automatic it becomes. Right now, you might need to think carefully about each sentence. But with practice, speaking English will become more natural and spontaneous. Trust the process and keep practicing. Let's practice talking about similarities and differences. My brother and I are similar in many ways. We both like sports and music. However, we're different too. He's more outgoing, but I'm more studious. Like me, he enjoys reading. Unlike me, he doesn't like cooking. We have the same interests in movies. We have different opinions about politics. Practice comparing yourself to family members or friends. How are you similar to your siblings? How are you different from your parents? What do you have in common with your friends? Let's work on talking about changes and improvements. My English has improved a lot this year. I used to be afraid of speaking, but now I'm more confident. I'm getting better at pronunciation. I've made progress in vocabulary. My listening skills have developed. I still need to work on grammar. I'm becoming more fluent every day. Talk about changes in your English ability. How has your English improved? What used to be difficult but is easier now? What progress have you made? What still needs improvement? Let's practice giving advice and making recommendations. If you want to improve your speaking, you should practice every day. I recommend watching English movies with subtitles. You ought to join a conversation group. It would be good to read out loud. You might want to record yourself speaking. I suggest finding an English-speaking friend to practice with. Practice giving advice about learning English. What would you recommend to someone who wants to improve their listening, their vocabulary, their speaking confidence? Let's practice talking about technology and social media, since these are common topics in modern conversation. I use my phone every day. I check my messages in the morning. I like taking photos with my camera. Social media can be fun, but sometimes it's too much. I prefer texting to calling. The internet helps me learn English. I watch videos on YouTube. Technology makes life easier, but sometimes I need a break from screens. Now talk about your relationship with technology. Do you use social media? What apps do you like? How does technology help you learn English? What do you do when you need a break from screens? Let's work on discussing plans and making arrangements. Are you free this Saturday? I'd like to meet for coffee. How about 3 o'clock at the cafe downtown? Does that work for you? I can pick you up at 2:30. Should we invite anyone else? Let me know if you need to change the time. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Practice making arrangements with someone. How would you suggest meeting a friend? How would you propose a time and place? What would you say if you needed to change plans? Now let's practice talking about memories and past experiences in more detail. I remember my first day at school. I was very nervous. When I was a child, I loved playing outside. I used to ride my bicycle every afternoon. My family went on vacation to the beach when I was 10. It was wonderful. I'll never forget learning to drive a car. Last year was challenging, but I learned a lot. Share some of your memories. What do you remember about being young? What experiences have shaped who you are? Use past tense and memory phrases like, I remember when I used to, I'll never forget. Let's work on expressing hopes and wishes for the future. I hope to travel around the world someday. I wish I could speak 5 languages. I dream of having my own business. I hope my family stays healthy and happy. I wish there was more time in the day. I hope to make many new friends. I wish I was more confident speaking English, but I'm working on it. Express your hopes and wishes. What do you hope will happen in your life? What do you wish you could do better? What dreams do you have for the future? Use phrases like, I hope to, I wish I could, I dream of, I hope, I wish. Here's an important truth about language learning. Progress isn't always linear. Some days you'll feel like you're improving quickly, and other days you might feel like you're not making progress at all. This is completely normal. The key is to keep practicing consistently, even when you don't feel motivated. Let's practice talking about challenges and how to overcome them. Learning English is challenging, but I don't give up. When I feel frustrated, I take a break and try again later. Sometimes I make mistakes, but mistakes help me learn. I ask for help when I need it. I celebrate small victories. Every day I practice, I get a little bit better. Patience is important in language learning. Talk about challenges you face in learning English and how you deal with them. What do you do when you feel frustrated? How do you motivate yourself to keep practicing? What helps you stay positive? Let's work on talking about cultural differences and similarities. In my culture, we greet each other by shaking hands. Family is very important to us. We usually eat dinner together. In some cultures, people bow when they meet. Every culture has different traditions. I'm curious about other ways of life. Learning about cultures helps me understand people better. We're all different, but we have many things in common. Talk about your culture and traditions. How do people greet each other in your country? What's important in your culture? What have you learned about other cultures? What interests you about cultural differences? Let's practice expressing congratulations and encouragement. Congratulations on your promotion. Well done on passing the exam. I'm proud of your progress. Keep up the good work. You're doing great. Don't give up. You can do it. I believe in you. You've worked so hard for this. You should be proud of yourself. Practice congratulating and encouraging others. How would you congratulate someone on a new job? How would you encourage someone who's struggling with English? What would you say to motivate a friend? Now let's work on talking about learning styles and preferences. I learn best by listening to conversations. Visual learners like to see things written down. Some people learn by doing activities. I prefer studying in quiet places. Group study works well for some people. I like to practice a little bit every day, rather than studying for hours once a week. Everyone has different learning styles. Talk about how you learn best. Do you prefer reading, listening, or practicing? Do you like studying alone or with others? What time of day do you focus best? What methods work well for you? Let's practice talking about motivation and goals. My main goal is to speak English confidently. I'm motivated because I want to communicate with people from different countries. Sometimes I lose motivation, but I remember why I started learning. Setting small goals helps me stay focused. When I achieve a goal, I feel proud and motivated to continue. Finding the right motivation is personal for everyone. Talk about what motivates you to learn English. What are your main goals? What do you do when you feel unmotivated? How do you celebrate when you achieve your goals? What keeps you going when learning feels difficult? Here's something encouraging. You've been practicing speaking English for quite a while now in this session. Do you notice that it's becoming a little easier? That's because your brain is getting used to producing English sounds and sentences. This is exactly how improvement happens, gradually, through consistent practice. Let's work on discussing future possibilities and potential outcomes. If I practice every day, my English will improve. If I move to an English-speaking country, I'll have more opportunities to practice. If I don't practice regularly, I might forget what I've learned. If I join a conversation group, I could meet new people. If I watch English movies, I might learn new expressions. Practice talking about future possibilities using if statements. What will happen if you practice more? What could happen if you travel to an English-speaking country? What might happen if you don't practice regularly? Let's practice expressing preferences between different options. I'd rather study in the morning than in the evening. I prefer tea to coffee. I'd choose quality over quantity. I like small classes better than large ones. Given the choice, I would live in a quiet area rather than a busy city. If I had to choose, I'd pick speaking practice over grammar exercises. Express your preferences between different options. Would you rather study alone or with others? Do you prefer formal or casual conversation practice? What would you choose? Perfect grammar or confident speaking? Now let's work on talking about personal growth and self-improvement. I'm working on becoming more confident. I'm trying to be more patient with myself. I want to develop better study habits. I'm learning to accept my mistakes as part of the learning process. I'm becoming more comfortable with uncertainty. Personal growth takes time, but it's worth the effort. Talk about ways you're trying to improve yourself, not just in English, but in general. What personal qualities are you working on? How are you growing as a person? What changes have you noticed in yourself since you started learning English? Let's practice talking about problem solving and decision making. When I have a problem, I try to think of different solutions. I like to ask for advice from people I trust. Sometimes I write down the pros and cons of different options. I try not to make important decisions when I'm upset or tired. Taking time to think usually leads to better decisions. It's okay to change my mind if I get new information. Talk about how you approach problems and make decisions. What do you do when you face a difficult choice? Who do you ask for advice? How do you decide between different options? Here's a valuable insight. The discomfort you feel when speaking English is actually a sign that you're learning. Your brain is creating new neural pathways, and that process can feel challenging. Instead of avoiding this discomfort, try to welcome it as a sign of growth and progress. Let's work on describing processes and giving instructions. First, you turn on the computer. Then you open the program. Next, you click on the menu. After that, you select the option you want. Finally, you save your work. When giving directions, it's important to speak slowly and clearly. If someone doesn't understand, explain it again using different words. Practice explaining how to do something simple. How do you make your favorite food? How do you use a particular app on your phone? How do you get from your home to the nearest store? Use sequence words like first, then, next, after that, finally. Let's practice expressing uncertainty and probability. I'm not sure if it will rain tomorrow. There's a good chance the meeting will be postponed. It's possible that I'll be late. I doubt we'll finish on time. It's unlikely that the store is still open. I'm almost certain this is the right answer. There's a small possibility of success. Practice expressing different levels of certainty. How sure are you that you'll practice English tomorrow? What's the probability that you'll use English at work this week? How certain are you about your weekend plans? Now let's talk about something very practical, dealing with misunderstandings in conversation. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Could you say that again? I'm not sure what you mean. Could you explain that differently? I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let me clarify what I meant. Did you mean to say, I think we're talking about different things. Practice dealing with misunderstandings. What would you say if someone spoke too quickly? How would you ask someone to repeat something? How would you clarify your own meaning if someone didn't understand you? Let's work on expressing sympathy and support. I'm sorry to hear about your problem. That must be difficult for you. I understand how you feel. Is there anything I can do to help? I hope things get better soon. You're going through a tough time. I'm here if you need to talk. Don't worry, everything will work out. Practice offering sympathy and support. How would you comfort a friend who lost their job? What would you say to someone who's feeling homesick? How would you support someone who's struggling with their English studies? Let's practice talking about routines and schedules in more detail. My morning routine is very important to me. I wake up at the same time every day because consistency helps me feel organized. I spend 30 minutes exercising because it gives me energy. I always eat breakfast because I get hungry if I skip it. I check my schedule for the day because I like to be prepared. Talk about your routines and explain why you do things a certain way. Why is your routine important to you? What happens if you change your routine? What parts of your day are most structured? Here's an encouraging thought. Every conversation you have in English, even difficult ones, is building your confidence and skills. You might not notice the improvement immediately, but each interaction is contributing to your overall progress. Be patient with yourself and trust the process. Let's work on talking about entertainment and leisure activities. I enjoy watching movies because they help me relax. I like comedies more than dramas because they make me laugh. I sometimes go to the theater to watch plays. I enjoy reading novels before bed. I like listening to music while I work. Entertainment is important because it helps us unwind after a busy day. Talk about your entertainment preferences. What do you do to relax? What kind of movies do you enjoy? How do you spend your leisure time? Why are these activities important to you? Let's practice making observations about the world around us. The weather has been changing a lot lately. People seem busier than they used to be. Technology is developing very quickly. Everyone uses smartphones now. Traffic gets worse every year. Young people have different interests than older generations. The world is becoming more connected through the internet. Make observations about changes you've noticed in your city, your country, or the world. What differences do you see compared to a few years ago? What trends have you observed? What changes do you expect in the future? Now let's practice expressing opinions on social issues or current events. I think education is very important for everyone. In my opinion, people should be kind to each other. I believe that learning languages brings people together. I feel that technology has both advantages and disadvantages. I think it's important to respect different cultures. From my perspective, communication is the key to solving problems. Express your opinions on topics that interest you. Remember to use opinion phrases like, I think, in my opinion, I believe, I feel that, from my perspective. What issues are important to you? What changes would you like to see in the world? Let's work on talking about achievements and accomplishments. I'm proud that I can have conversations in English now. Last year, I learned to use new computer software. I completed a difficult project at work. I helped my neighbor when they needed assistance. Small achievements are just as important as big ones. Every step forward is worth celebrating. Talk about things you've accomplished recently. What are you proud of in your English learning journey? What challenges have you overcome? What goals have you achieved? Remember that progress comes in many forms. Finally, let's practice expressing gratitude and appreciation in more depth. I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn English. I appreciate all the people who have helped me along the way. I'm thankful for my family's support and encouragement. I value the patience of those who practice conversation with me. I'm fortunate to have access to learning resources. Expressing gratitude makes me feel more positive about my journey. Express your gratitude related to your English learning experience. Who has helped you? What resources are you thankful for? What opportunities are you grateful for? How does expressing gratitude affect your motivation? Congratulations! You have completed an intensive English speaking practice session. Over these 2 hours, you've practiced expressing yourself on dozens of different topics. You've worked on basic conversation skills, shared personal information, expressed opinions, made plans, and discussed complex ideas. Most importantly, you've spent time actually speaking English out loud. Remember these key points as you continue your English learning journey. Speaking English is a skill that improves with practice, just like any other skill. Don't worry about making mistakes. They're a natural part of learning. Focus on communication rather than perfection. Every conversation is an opportunity to improve. Be patient and kind with yourself as you develop confidence. Continue practicing a little bit every day. Talk to yourself about your daily activities. Read articles out loud. Practice having imaginary conversations. Record yourself speaking and listen back to notice your progress. Most importantly, look for opportunities to have real conversations with other English speakers. You should be proud of yourself for dedicating this time to practice. Learning a language requires courage, persistence, and dedication. and you've demonstrated all of these qualities today. Keep up the excellent work, stay motivated, and remember that every step you take is bringing you closer to your goals. Thank you for spending your time with me, Lisa, here on Voice of English. I hope this practice session has been helpful and encouraging. Remember, you understand English well, and with continued practice, your speaking will catch up to your understanding. Be confident, be patient, and keep practicing. See you next time, and happy learning.